A very warm welcome to all of you. Myself Rajan Choudhary, Professor in the Department of Civil Engineering, Indian Institute of Technology, Guwahati, instructor for the NPTEL MOOC course Pavement Construction and Technology, funded by Ministry of Education, Government of India. Our today's lecture will be a part of Module 9, where we will discuss some of the roadside safety related features, where our discussion will focus especially related to road signs, the roadside traffic barriers and the road delineators. So at the very beginning, I would like to acknowledge the use of text, information, graphs and images sourced from various textbooks, codal standards, journal articles, reports, newsletters and public domain searches. As we all are aware of it, that with the rapid increase in the road traffic, a lot of safety concerns have taken place, specifically because with the growing traffic, it has also contributed to higher fatalities and crash related losses. So the roadside safety features, specifically in terms, we can call it as road signs, traffic barriers and road delineators. They play a vital role in enhancing the road safety, and we will discuss some of the key features of these, the road signs, traffic barriers and road delineators in this particular talk. So road signs, what are road signs? Road signs are devices placed along, beside or above highway, roadway, pathway or any other route, and what the purpose is? To guide, to warn and to regulate. So it is there to guide the users, it is there to warn the users in respect to some feature and to regulate also the traffic. So this helps to guide, warn and regulate the flow of road traffic, including all categories: motor vehicles, bicycles, pedestrians and other modes of transportation. Road signs provides drivers with adequate and advanced information. This is important. Any feature which is to be encountered by a road user, he will get an advanced information with the help of the road signs about upcoming road conditions specifically, along with necessary warnings and guidance, which may include some warnings, some information, some guidance also. So this all will be delivered in advance to that particular whatever feature is to be encountered. So road signs plays an important role in the regulation of traffic and are considered as the building blocks for ensuring road safety. So they play a very vital role in the road safety of a particular road network. So we have this MORTH book on road safety and signages. It says traffic signs ensure safety, book on road safety, signages and signs. And as you can see, it is said that safety is not just a slogan, it is a way of life. Now, considering this, what is the need of it? So one important purpose of road signs is to enhance the safety and efficiency of the movement of the road traffic on the these infrastructure facilities by ensuring the orderly movement of all road users. So the movement has to be in order, they should be in a proper manner, which should follow certain informations, certain regulatory informations, or we can call mandatory informations across both urban and non-urban roads. So certain information is important for urban roads, also important in case of non-urban roads. They inform users of regulations and provide warnings as well as guidance needed, and the warnings and guidance which will help them to have a safe, uniform and efficient operation. So these are some of the key requirements for it, and whenever a sign is installed, there is something expected out of it. So road signs are expected to meet some basic requirements. If a road sign is installed at a particular location nearby a road, so there is something which is expected to be delivered by it, and what we need, it fulfills a need. So whether it is a warning, it is an information, or there is certain control is there. So what it wants to communicate, so that it should be able to fulfill a particular need and command attention. It should draw the attention of the road user. So he should be able to get an idea about it, convey a clear and simple meaning. It should be simple to understand, for any road user, command respect, and the way in which these are installed and designed, it should be good enough so as to get the respect from the road users. See, I cannot place say within 50 meters I am placing 2 road signs which are giving some direction, mandatory direction related to the speed of movement. So that's not a good, that's not a correct practice. So that if these practices are not done in a good manner, they doesn't get a good respect from the users also. Give adequate time to response. This is also at where you are placing it. Then once the user is able to identify it, understand it, he should have some time to make some changes specifically in terms of its speed of travel, so as to encounter through that particular feature. So, to achieve these factors, such as these all requirements, what are important is, first of all, the design of those road signages, their placement, where to be placed, operation, maintenance. Maintenance is also a big concern because they need to be properly maintained during their service life. Uniformity, as I mentioned, this is to be uniform, the features has to be uniformly presented through them, must be carefully considered. And for this particular one, we have a good number of specifications available from Indian Roads Congress and Ministry of Road Transport and Highways. We have IRC 67, which is the code of practice for road signs. We have the MORTH 2015. This is the traffic signs ensure safety book on road safety signages and signs. We have IRC 119, which is guidelines for traffic safety barriers. We have IRC 79 2019, which is recommended practice for road delineators. We have our MORTH specifications for road and bridge works. Now, these road signs are basically characterized into 3 main heads. What are those 3 main heads? One is mandatory and regulatory. The word itself says they give some mandatory and regulatory information. Cautionary and warning signs, they gives you some warning. So, they gives you some information related certain cautions which are to be taken up, and informatory and guide signs. So, these are 3 main categories under which the different road signs are generally classified. So, now this can be on the basis of it. The first one can be the one mandatory regulatory, the one which gives you order. Say this is the first one, stop, you need to stop there. So, this is giving something, a mandatory regulatory sign is there. Signs that warns you specifically, see this is the one, slippery road is there. So, it is warning you regarding certain features. So, this is signs that warns you. Signs that gives you information. So, this one is giving some information, there is a hospital. So, these are, we can understand from their key terms itself what they are going to represent. Now, how they are represented, specifically mandatory and regulatory signs, they are circular with some exceptions of stop and give way signs are there. And for cautionary and warning signs, they are triangular and they warn. And for the informatory and guide signs, they are rectangular. So, they again inform certain facilities which will be there. Now, first coming to the mandatory and regulatory signs, they indicate a start of a restriction. So, when any sign is encountered in terms of a regulatory or a mandatory signs, they means there is some restriction or prohibition is there and must be placed according to direction in which they. So, in both the directions traffic may be moving. So, you need to place it considering for which particular direction you want to give this particular regulation. So, these signs serves to communicate special prohibitions related to vehicle maneuvers, vehicle types also, parking, speeds or load limits. So, vehicle maneuvers, so here you can see no U-turn is allowed, here you can see no parking is there, here you can see this gives you the information, this is that the speed should be 50. So, examples includes overtaking prohibited. So, the first one says overtaking is prohibited, U-turn is prohibited, cycles prohibited, this can be another one, parking prohibited, this is the parking prohibited, speed limit is there, and maximum load limit, it says 5 tons is the maximum load limit for vehicles to use that particular facility. So, mandatory and regulatory signs need to be complied with. This is important. We need to follow it. We need to follow what they are communicating, and any violation of the rules and regulations conveyed by these signs is a legal offence. So, you will be penalized if you are not obeying these particular signs. Now, mandatory signs, as I mentioned earlier, are mainly circular in shape with some exceptions, like in the case of a stop sign, which is in octagonal in shape, and in case of a triangular give way signs. These are the two exceptions are there, two usual exceptions are there. Then these mandatory signs also can be further classified into prohibitory regulation. So, prohibitory means they are prohibiting certain actions or certain sort of movement. So, having red color with border with red oblique bar. So, you can see this is a red circular border with red oblique bar which is there. So, left turn is not permitted here. Now, this is one type of regulatory sign which comes under the mandatory or regulatory signs, which comes under the prohibitory one. And then operation control one, see this is giving you an operation control or vehicular control, which means that you have to move at a speed of 50. Then compulsory control or other signs, this is again an example, circular sign with blue background with white border. It says you have to compulsory make a turn, left turn in that particular case. So, further in this particular one, we can say that the prohibitory signs under this mandatory ones are the red color, red circular ring is there, and diagonal bars are there with black symbols. Here a black symbol is there for U-turn, or arrows or letters. There may be certain arrows may be or letters may be there on white background. So, this is what. So, a red border is there, there is a black the arrow is there, where symbol or arrow is there, and a red diagonal is also there, which is there. So, and this is there on a white background. So, this is what is there for prohibitory or regulatory signs. Now, the red ring indicates prohibitory regulation, this is important, and the diagonal red bar prohibits the action. So, the diagonal says this action is not to be taken up. So, you can't take a U-turn here in this case, or movement indicated by the black symbol, that is cannot be taken. So, here you can see there is a placement of this particular prohibitory symbol. Now, along with it, the mandatory compulsory control signs may be there, giving positive instructions and circular with white symbol on a blue background with white border. So, this is again a compulsory control one which is there. So, you can see compulsory left turn is there. So, they indicate what drivers must do compulsory. Again, direction control signs are to compulsory regulate certain movements wherever the restriction applies. So, a compulsory left turn has to be there. So, these are regulatory and mandatory signs. Now, where they need to be placed, their placing is also important. So, they need to be placed on both sides of the road or on each side of the appropriate carriageway of a dual carriageway. So, on the both side of the roads or on each side at appropriate carriageway in case of dual carriageways. However, signs may be installed on only one side. They can be in one side only if specific cases are there. That is when restrictions apply to a single side of the road only. Because of some obstruction, if there are certain restrictions on one side only, they can be placed on one side. Or at junctions where traffic turns from a one-way road into the relevant road. So, there may be certain ones where one-way traffic is merging with some intersections. They can be placed on one side itself. In which case the sign should be angled towards the driver, definitely, so that the one which are moving in that lane which needs to be followed, they should be able to see it. Minimum clear visibility distances are essential, as so that they can take the action at a proper time. So, for this particular one, at what places you are placing it, and the visibility should be good enough. So, clear visibility distances are there required for regulatory, and this is IRC 67, which gives you a detailed information about the placement of these different road signs. So, for regulatory and mandatory signs, and are typically measured from the center of the most challenging driving lanes. So, the one where you find that this is the most challenging one for a driver lane to visualize this particular, that can be used. A simple extraction of information can be there, say that it says advanced direction signs. If they are mounted on the shoulder, what should be the minimum clear visibility to that particular sign. So, depending upon what ranges of the design speed is there, if the design speed typically in the range of 81 to 100, at least should have a visibility of 160 meter. So, this is how it is important that visibility should be a good in terms of that it can be easily understood by the driver and he can take the appropriate action. To ensure clarity, usually no more than 2 signs, because this is always prohibited, that we do not prefer to put more than 2 signs should be placed together on a one post at same location, because then it makes challenging for the driver. While speed limit signs specifically, they are always displayed alone, they are not displayed along with other ones, they are preferred to be displayed alone for their maximum visibility. Then the cautionary and warning signs are there. They, as we mentioned earlier also, they are there to alert the users, specifically for the presence of some potential hazards may be there or hazardous conditions may be there near the roadway, encouraging drivers to take appropriate action. This for increased safety, and appropriate action maximum is in terms that whether they will get informed what is there ahead, they have to take some turn, they have to reduce their speed. So, these all information, if the signs are properly visible in time, so they can take the appropriate action. These signs are typically triangular in nature. Cautionary and warning signs are typically triangular in nature, featuring a red border. This is a red border with a black symbol on a white background. This is a standard color for a cautionary and a warning sign. These signs indicate a need for a special caution by a road user and may require a reduction in speed in many cases. Some examples of these signs are like this is, we can have a hairpin bend. This is a right hairpin bend which is there. We can have a narrow bridge. This is an example of a narrow bridge which is there. This is an example of a gap in median is there. Similarly, it can be there that a school ahead is there. So, these are there which warns you that some median opening is there or a right hairpin bend is there. So, you need to reduce your speed. Some narrow bridge is you are approaching towards a narrow bridge, again you will try to reduce your speed to get accommodated into it. And the cautionary warning signs are of the shape of an equilateral triangle with apex pointing always towards upwards. So, this is again an important requirement. Location and mounting of cautionary signs. As mentioned, warning signs should not be mounted on the same post as stop, give way or terminal speed limit signs as mentioned earlier, nor on traffic signal post. They should not be posted on traffic signal post also. When placed with other types of signs, triangular warning signs must be mounted at the top. Specifically, we prefer them to mount on the top in that case. Typical details of the size and sighting details of cautionary signs, again as per IRC 67 details are given, like if the design speed, again if 81 to 120 is there, then the clear visibility distance should be at least 90 meter. Now, this is with in case of regulatory it was higher, in case of we can see in case of cautionary and warning it is 90, and distance of sign from the hazard it should be placed well ahead of it. So, visibility is one part and how in advance it is placed to that particular hazard through which what we want to make understand the user in terms of these signs. So, whatever hazard which is there for which we are warning through this particular sign should be that particular, the sign should be placed at least around for a speed of 81 to 120 around 180 to 245 meter ahead of it. Then comes the guide and informatory signs. Again they give some information, they guide you about certain facilities. So, and they are typically rectangular in shape having symbols on a blue background. This is a typical one to indicate locations such as what they can help us to understand or know, to fuel stations, locations of fuel stations, eating place, parking areas, while other informatory signs can display destination names. This is an example of it, distances and directional arrows. So, in which direction you need to go for a particular place, what should be the distance of a particular place. So, these can be also shown through the informatory signs. can be further classified into the headings. They are further classified into certain headings: direction and place identification sign, which gives you direction and the place information. Facility information, some facility related, some say you have some restaurants are there or fuel stations are there, parking signs are there, even certain locations which can have flood related concerns, they are also informed through these informatory or guide signs. So when it comes to direction and place identification signs, it mentions that it should give drivers advance information of their approach to a junction. So that is this can be shown through a informatory signs that you are approaching towards a junction. It should indicate type of junction also, what type of junction it is there. It should inform them of the destinations that may be reached from each exit. So there may be multiple exits, so they may be properly informed that if you follow this exit, what will be your expected destination. It should identify the route and indicates its status within the network, that this particular in a network of roads, say here you can see an example, the one which goes towards Lucknow, Jaipur, Delhi, and the further ahead in this particular one towards the Azad Nagar. So these informations are displayed. Now facility information sign, as I mentioned, there may be facilities in terms of some restaurants, maybe their fuel stations are there. So these informations are shown through facility information sign. They inform road users about the location and availability of nearby services. These rectangular signs have a blue background with a black symbol displayed inside a white square. So you have a black symbol which is displayed within a white square, and these are the designs, the standards, the width, height, all are as per IRC 67 guidelines are there. So parking information sign. Now the other one comes under the informatory and guide signs is parking information signs. It may be set up parallel to the axis of the road and should indicate the places where parking of vehicles are authorized. And further see, as I mentioned, we get further more details about it in as per the codal requirements. Like for parking information signs, one is taken, the sign shall be square, 600 mm to 600 mm size, parking sign with vehicular type shall be of 600 to 800 mm. If you are providing this parking is for a particular vehicular category, here in this particular case it is showing for bicycles, then this size should be 600 into 800 mm. It shall bear the letter P in white color, again that is specified. The background color shall be blue with white border. So this is an important requirement in terms of the designs of the informatory and guide signs. So you have the black background and with the white border. Flood gauge signs, as I mentioned, it is installed at causeways and submersible bridges or culverts to indicate the road to the users, the height of the flood above the road level. So this is specifically important that to understand, because there may be some flooding may be there during a rainfall event. So this gives the information specifically to the road users. Now the angle to which it is placed, that is also important, the orientation of road signs. So the signs, unless otherwise stated, shall be normally placed at right angles to the line of travel of the approaching traffic. So this is a general that we always try to place it at right angles to the direction of the travel or the direction of the approaching vehicle traffic. So signs related to parking are, however, fixed at an angle approximately 15 degree to the carriageway, so as to give a better visibility, because one need to park towards it. So generally to have an enhanced visibility, it is usually fixed at an angle of around 15 degree, so as to give a better visibility. On horizontal curves, specifically on horizontal curves, here you can see the signs are not fixed normal to the carriageway, because this is as per the line of sight of the drivers, and the angle of placement is determined with regard to the course of approaching traffic. So it is should be with respect to the orientation with the approaching traffic or the line of sight of the driver. So sign on gradients, similarly when you are encroaching a vertical curve, then it says signs on gradients may be desirable to tilt a sign forward or backward. So depending upon whether you are approaching a valley curve or a summit curve, so a sign forward or backward from the vertical to make it finally a desired one, normal to the line of sight and improving the viewing angle. So, this is also important for a proper visibility and a timely visibility of a sign. Now, what type of other features are involved is specifically in the installations are post and mountings for different signs. The details are, we have different IS specifications also, like IS 1239 is there, IS 4923 is there, IS 3589 is there, which gives specifications for different materials which are used in these road signs. So, the traffic signs shall be mounted on support post, and these support posts may be of mild steel, typically mild steel, or galvanized iron pipes, which should conform to these particular IS specifications which I mentioned here. So, IS 1239 or circular hollow sections conforming to IS 1161, rectangular hollow sections conforming to 4923, or square hollow sections conforming to 3589. So, if they are using these different sections, they should be as per their respective IS specifications requirements. Sign post, their foundations and sign mounting shall be so constructed as to hold them firmly, specifically in a proper and permanent position against the normal storm winds, because during storm they may get tilted up. So, they should they should be fixed enough in a firm manner, so that they can bear the forces which can be there because of wind storms, or even they should be good enough to avoid vandalism, because this is again many a times a concerns, because they are removed, and that creates a lot of issues, specifically safety of the road users. Normally, signs with an area of 0.9 square meters, if a sign board is having an area of 0.9 square meter, shall be mounted on a single post that is big enough. For a greater area, 2 or more supports shall be provided. If it is a bigger one, then we need to provide 2 or more supports. Now, again, how they are fixed up. So, sign posts or supports must be firmly fixed to the ground with a properly designed foundation. A foundation needs to be properly designed. Are attached to steel post. They are attached to steel post by welding, and to reinforced concrete also, or GI post using bolts and washers. And there also you can see this is how it is fixed up. And again, in addition to this, it says with bolts tails hammered after tightening to prevent their removal, so that to avoid vandalism. So, these are the bolt tails are finally hammered in this particular case. Overhead signs are designed to resist. This is important. When these overhead signs are there, they should be good enough, their foundation should be good enough to resist wind loads of around 150 kg per meter square, which is normal to the sign board, and 30 kg per meter square transverse to the sign face. So, again the foundation has to be designed in this particular manner. So, the other important category in respect of the road safety features is the traffic safety barriers. So, what are traffic safety barriers? We call them by the name of crash barriers also. So, the traffic safety barriers or crash barriers are installed specifically on high speed highways to prevent vehicles that lose control from running off the road. So, this serves an important purpose, because of any situation, if the vehicle goes off the road, this particular crash barrier will help to bring it back specifically, and to control and to reduce the impact which is possible. So, it says they are practically important at hazardous locations, and what can be that? Specifically, sharp curves may be there, narrow bridge approaches may be there when one enters from a wide pavement section to a narrow bridge. High embankments may be there, where chances are there it in some unwanted situations it can go off the side slopes, and areas with roadside obstacles such as posts, trees, etc. So, when properly designed and positioned, traffic safety barriers, what they serves, they can redirect the vehicles. So, this is very important, that they should be able, you can see this is one example of a steel crash barrier, W beam type steel crash barriers. So, it can redirect vehicles nearly parallel to the direction of the travel. So, if it is moving in this direction, it helps to redirect the vehicle in the direction of travel, nearly parallel to the direction of the barrier. So, this is one. Reduce crash severity. Now, depending upon, there are different type of these crash barriers also, they will definitely try to reduce the crash severity and minimize occupant injury and property damage. So, this is an important feature with these crash barriers, or we will call traffic safety barriers. Due to highly cost effective safety, because the safety enhancement is very high with these crash barriers. So, they are provided by these devices. They are extensively used on modern high speed highways, because where the movements are at relatively higher speeds. Now, they can be further classified into two main categories, one which are used on the road edges, and second which are used on the medians. So, we will call as road edge barriers and the median barriers. You can see here is an example of a road edge barrier which is there. So, now let us first look what a road edge barrier is there. So, road edge barrier, also known as roadside barrier because it is on the side of a carriageway, is a longitudinal safety system designed to shield vehicles from hazards along the roadway edge. So, any hazard which may be there on this particular side, any fixed object, steep slopes are there, or there are some high embankments, or some valley is there, sharp curves are there. So, they help to shield the vehicles from any hazard which may be there. Installed along the outer boundaries of the travel lane, these barriers typically consist of what they are typically made up of. They are made up of metal, steel barriers we have, or concrete beams which may be there. They are mounted about 30 to 60 centimeter above the ground on robust post made up of wood, concrete or steel. You can see these are the posts. So, they are mounted on these particular posts which may be made up of wood, concrete or steel. So, and they should be as per IRC 119 guidelines specifically. So, this is the posts are usually driven about 110 centimeter into the ground, because the impact has to be borne by this particular one, and set in, or they can be set into the backfilled holes. This, what this helps, it enables them to absorb the impact energy. When a vehicle at a high speed comes and strike to this particular crash barrier, so the energy need to be absorbed and it is to be redirected in the direction of this crash barrier. How much it goes inside that particular soil helps us to absorb the impact energy by moving within the soil. Now, this is an example. Here we can see this is an example of a concrete median barrier which is there. So, median barriers are longitudinal safety systems installed in the center of the divided carriageways when we want to separate out the traffic in the two directions. So, to separate traffic in moving in opposite directions, and as I mentioned, this has to be as per IRC 119. The primary function in this particular one, the important function which is served is to prevent vehicles from, in any case if a vehicle goes out of control, then this prevents to cross the median and enter the opposite lane. So, this should not happen. If this median crash barriers are there, they will protect any vehicle which has gone out of control to cross the median and come on the opposite traffic lane, because this will lead to some head-on collisions. So, that will be very serious. So, to avoid these severe risk of head-on collisions, these median crash barriers are provided. In addition, they provide protection to motorists, because while moving along this particular one, by absorbing and redirecting impact forces, when they stuck and the energy get absorbed, impact energy get absorbed by these crash barriers, and they are able to redirect it. And also shield fixed objects, and if there are certain objects which are there in the median, there may be some posts may be there may be some permanent objects which have to be there, specifically at toll plazas and at any other locations. So, if some fixed projects are located inside the median, they also get protected with the help of these traffic crash barriers, such as sign supports may be there, lighting posts may be there, piers may be there, and from potential vehicle impact. So, they should not get damaged by any vehicle which has gone out of control and comes on the median. So, when properly designed and maintained, median barriers significantly enhance overall safety by minimizing crash severity and protecting both road users and roadside infrastructure. So, this is an important feature which is there with traffic safety barriers, and the one which is installed at the median, so called as a median barriers. Now, depending upon their performance, traffic safety barriers are mainly classified into three main categories. The first one is the flexible one, which is the one which can absorb the impact energy to a maximum extent. Semi-rigid one, these are typically made up of steel beams, and we call them as double beam crash barriers or tri-beam crash barriers. And the third one category are the rigid one. You can see this is the one, this is an example showing the flexible type one, which are your cable or wired crash barriers which are there. This is your steel beam sort of crash barriers which are there, which comes under the category of semi-rigid. So, you can see this is a double beam steel crash barrier which is there, and then this is the third one, which is a rigid one, which is a concrete barrier. So, the primary difference between among these three type of crash barriers lies in the amount of deflection they can exhibit upon impact. This exhibits maximum amount of deflection, followed by the steel beam crash barriers, and then the rigid ones. So, this is an example. You can see there is a median concrete crash barrier which is there. Now, when coming into the individual features of these three type of crash barriers, specifically the flexible one, the semi-rigid one and the rigid one, the flexible barrier system such as a cable or wire type, which is shown in this particular example here, is the most yielding of traffic safety barrier, because it is the most flexible one. It contains and redirects vehicles while deflecting significantly. Now, for this particular one, deflection of significantly, there should be a clear space available on the side of this particular flexible barriers significantly upon the impact, which requires lateral clearance, ample lateral clearance from fixed objects. So, it should be placed well far away from any objects which is there on this particular side, so that this gets the complete space for its deflection. This design results in the lowest impact severity. So, this is the wonderful feature with these flexible type crash barriers for vehicle occupants by absorbing and dissipating crash energy effectively. So, they are very safe compared to what the damage can be caused specifically to the occupants of the vehicles. Then comes the semi-rigid one, which we most of the time see. These are the one which are also very popular specifically on all high speed corridors which are there. So, semi-rigid barrier types provide enough resistance to control the deflection of the longitudinal component. So, they have a good strength and to resist the deflection, because you can see there is an object, there is a tree which is just on the back side of it. So, you do not have much scope for the deflection of it. So, these are the one which are able to control the deflection of the longitudinal with acceptable limits, within acceptable, yes, definitely certain amount of deflection will be there, but within acceptable limits, effectively redirecting errant vehicles along the roadway. So, it gets deflect, and then with the help of it the vehicle can get redirected on the carriageway. So, steel beam crash barriers, as I mentioned, one is double beam sort of one or the tri-beam sort of one. Crash barriers, double beam guardrails, this is an example of it, are common examples of this type, combining both strength and flexibility to enhance safety. So, this comes under the category of semi-rigid barrier type. Then the last category is your rigid barriers, and they are typically made up of concrete, do not deflect when they are struck, and then thus therefore they result in the highest level of severity impact among all the three barrier types compared to the flexible one and semi-rigid one. They are best suited for locations where only we can expect a small angle of impacts are expected. So, a small level of impacts are expected where we can put this particular one, and they will help us to separate out the vehicles in the two directions, and other possible such as narrow medians or shoulders commonly found in urban areas where you do not have much space for providing a good width of medians. There these concrete barriers are very popular. Because rigid barriers sustain little and no damage upon impact, they require minimum maintenance, making them durable and effective safety solution. But yes, if they are struck at high speed, the impact is very high, the damage to the occupants is much higher compared to what we experience in case of semi-rigid and flexible type crash barriers. Now, the other category which comes is the road delineators. So, as the word itself says, here is delineation. So, that means any treatment which can help us to understand or improve the visibility of any feature. So, delineation mainly refers to devices or treatments such as and how that can be there in terms of any painted lines, raised pavement markers, posts, reflectors and contrasting pavement surfaces. So, these what they are allowing us to help, they are helping us is to improve the visibility, used to clearly outline the roadway and improve visibility and guidance for the road users. So, when the delineation is enhanced, it automatically enhances the visibility as well as the safety of the road user. So, a primary role of delineators, what different type of delineators you can see, this is the how it looks during a night time. If it is a properly, delineators are assigned or are placed on the road surface to provide drivers with the visual guidance on the road alignment ahead, particularly at night, and they are very useful when you are driving in night time. And we have a complete IRC specification IRC 79 which is there for recommended practice for road delineators. They are quite useful, important in complex situations where you have these sharp curves are there, horizontal curves are there or vertical curves are there. And another important feature is specifically under adverse weather conditions, when it is raining, when you have fog or snow, then they help us a lot in enhancing the visibility of the roadside features. So, road delineators again, they are classified into 4 major categories. What are those? These are roadway indicators, median markers, hazard markers and object markers. So, these are 4 different categories which comes under the road delineators. Now, let us look into the first one, which is roadway indicators. So, they are also called delineators or guideposts. You might have seen them placed at various locations. Say you can see here it is placed just near to this particular curve which is there. Normally a gap of around maximum 10 centimeter is there from the curve face to the face of this particular pole. So, this is, you can see on the curb side, on the edge side, these guideposts are placed. So, roadway indicators called delineators or guideposts are typically mild steel posts which are there, coated with polyester powder for corrosion control, designed with an ellipsoidal or a circular cross section. This has to be as per the IRC 79 requirements which has to be followed for this particular one. So, it says cross section and standing around a height of around 80 to 90 centimeter above the ground. So, this is a typical requirement for these we call them as the guide post or guide posts. On high speed interurban roads with heavy traffic, they are usually placed 50 to 70 meter apart. So, this specifically on high speed corridors, they are placed to this particular distance, and on low volume or rural roads in rolling or hilly terrains, we can use, instead of these steel ones, we can use the concrete delineators also. So, that is another part. Instead of this particular one, we can go for the concrete delineators because they are comparatively more economical compared to what you have with these mild steel posts. Now, the other one, as mentioned, these are our median markers. This is an example. You can see here on the median curve, these are placed. This is another feature you can see along the medians, and see the visibility or the edges which are visible specifically during the night time. So, we call them as flexible median markers or retroreflective safety devices. These are, you can see this is a retroreflective sheeting which is there. This is how it looks like. So, designed to enhance the visibility of medians as well as parapet wall structures. In some cases, they are placed at some parapet walls also, bridges are there where, particularly during night time. And you can see from this picture how the visibility is improved by the placing of these flexible median markers. And adverse weather conditions, thereby because of this retroreflective nature, even in adverse weathers the visibility is very high. So, these markers are provided with fluorescent yellow retroreflective sheeting which is there, and these sheetings are as per the requirement of the IS and the IRC specifications. So, with a recommended spacing of 2 meters in urban areas and 5 meters on interurban highways, these are typical spacing requirements of these ones. So, a smaller space is there of 2 meters in urban areas and in interurban areas, because the visibility is more challenging in urban areas. Now, typical dimensions of a flexible median marker include a minimum height of 180 mm, a width of 120 mm and a body thickness of 6.5, and the other part is the reflective area of this should be minimum 90 centimeter square. So, these are some of the typical requirements as per IRC 79, which states for the road delineators. Now, this is another category which is our hazard marker is there. Hazard markers are used to identify and indicate obstructions. Like this can be an example, you can see these are there is a narrow bridge which is there. So, when you are approaching this is an obstruction, there can be another obstruction, some pole may be there. So, in front of these hazard markers are placed and they are painted in a different in a specified manner. So, are used to identify, indicate obstructions such as guardrails and abutments located adjacent to the carriageway, particularly at locations like culverts and bridges we can see, and the roadway narrows at these approaches. So, when here when it is approaching, so the hazard, potential hazard in front of it, these hazard markers are placed. They consist of alternative black and yellow strips. These are the yellow strips at an angle of 45 degree and they direct in the direction in which the traffic is guided to pass by. So, this means the traffic needs to pass by here. This is guiding that the traffic is to pass by this side. So, in this particular manner, in this direction the traffic should pass. So, this gives you here it is a marker two-way sign. So, this should be avoided, the middle one is to be avoided and it will the traffic can move in this direction and the traffic can move in this direction. Say for here is this particular case. Now, even in their design part you can see what the traditional widths are there, 300 mm, 300 mm which is there. What is the width of this strip? It is 100. In case of this particular one, when two-way signs are there, this width is 200 mm and a typical height is around 90 centimeter. So, these are some typical features of hazard marker. So, they consist of alternating black and yellow strips sloping downwards at an angle of 45 degree towards the side of the obstruction on which traffic is to pass. So, this is an important, their placement is to be important because it helps you to guide also to pass by, clearly guiding drivers to safely navigate around the hazard. So, this is an upper part. We call them as object hazard markers are put up where there are objects on the edges of the travelled way which can lead to crash, some vehicle crashes. So, this forms another important category of road safety feature under the road delineators, and the last one comes up as the object markers. So, it typically includes an aluminum backed flexible prismatic reflective sheeting. You can see this is an example having black and yellow strips. These are the strips which are there to improve visibility. And where do we prefer this particular one? You can prefer on the beams and posts of metal crash barriers. We were having those crash barriers, the metal steel crash barriers were there. So, on the beam as well as on the post of it, we can put this particular one. Periphery of the roundabout, specifically you can see where the bull noses of the traffic is there, islands pointing towards the direction. So, here it is pointing towards the direction, it has to go in this direction. Traffic police, toll booth structures, when these structures are there in the middle of the road, for over that particular one we can have these object markers. Exit points of the tunnel structures, and see how the visibility gets improved specifically because of these object markers during the night time. So, the flexible prismatic sheeting which is we can see which is here is usually supplied in a continuous roll with a screen printed black and arrows. These are the, because it is a yellow sheeting and these black arrows are screen printed ones on or slight line pattern which is there. So, and there also some typical requirements are there, like the width of an object marker is usually 30 centimeter with a length generally not less than 40 to 50 centimeter, because it should be clearly visible from a far away distance, so that it ensures full visibility of reflectors to the encroaching or approaching traffic. So, these are some of the salient road safety specifically features which are broadly under the kind of category of your road signs, your traffic safety barriers and your road delineators. Thank you so much.